Yeah.
Live.
We're doing it live. Okay. So we're trying this again. It says, please stand by. Are we receiving any video? Let's find out. Okay, you guys, if this doesn't work this time, then I'm just going to cut it, and we're not going to do a live stream today. So we'll see. Anyway, let's see if we can get this thing working. We are sending data. We are sending video. It's just that YouTube doesn't necessarily like that video. So, let's see. Let's see. I assume you can't see any video. Let me know what you can see or not see. All right. So yeah, we've got 10 people in there. You can hear us. Can you see us? I'm curious. Okay, well, I guess it's just not going to give us a preview here. So yeah, we're trying our best to speak to you in two different places. Oh, we're echoing. Oh, great. Great. So YouTube's got a new thing. They really want us to use this new streaming platform. And so I'm giving it a try, but it's really giving us fits today, so I apologize if, let's see, if you guys are having any trouble. So we'll see how it goes. Good. Okay, it's working. They can see us. We just can't. We can't see us. Which, really, if you think about it, that's okay.
They don't really want to see us anyway.
You're getting reverb. I wonder why you're getting a little reverb. It could just be the room echo, or does it sound like there's two mics going? There shouldn't be. We should only have one mic going on. Anyway, yeah, let's see if we can solve the reverb problem. As I was saying earlier, we're going to give this new software, this new platform, a shot. If we can't seem to get it to work, if it just seems like it's more trouble than it's worth, then I'll just cut the live stream for today and give it a shot on another day.
Let us know if the echo's like unbearable, though.
Yeah, sure. It's I'm curious about what kind of echo it is, because we're in kind of an echoey room, and this is a very echoey mic that we're using. But so is it echo or reverb? If it's just an echoey room, then we need a better communicator. Okay, well, let's see what else we might be able to do. Okay, let me try something else, you guys, just a moment.
Riveting live stream.
I know, this is really, really great stuff. Just a moment. Okay, are we cut now? Okay, well now I know we're back, but are we still? There we go. Okay, tell me if that audio is any better. What we're doing right now, essentially what we normally do is I'm live streaming from my home where I've got this set up. It's all Dude the Beard talk. They want you to talk.
Oh, yeah. The beard does talk. What do you want to know?
It just says, Dude the Beard talk. Okay, so it does sound better. It's just we're going to get rid of this mic. It might be literally too good for this setup that we have in here. So, okay, so we are working a little bit better. So sorry about that, you guys.
Let's get into it.
All of the future viewers are going to be like, this live stream sucked. Anyway, so yeah, we're doing two things today. We're talking about Apple TV Plus, and we are talking about binging versus non-binging.
Yeah.
And so we're going to talk about Apple TV Plus for just a few minutes while people kind of drift into the live stream. We're going to give people a few minutes to get logged in.
Oh, we've given them plenty of time.
Well, we've given ourselves plenty of time to screw it up a few times. We need a review on not proper sound equipment from China. Got it. Well, let's start with Apple TV Plus. So yesterday, in case you missed it, I know you were all glued to your TV
Apple
sets.
devices.
Yeah, your Apple devices to watch Tim Cook and co. announce a bunch of new Apple devices and services. Unfortunately, I am paid to do that, so I had to sit through it. But a lot of it was just about new iPhones and new iPads and Apple Watch stuff, and that was all interesting. But the stuff we really care about right now for this channel is the announcements on Apple TV Plus. And I am pleased to say that once again, I was right. I was right about everything. I'm always right, constantly, always right. Right?
Right.
So tell me a little bit, Adam, about what Apple TV Plus is doing.
We knew this was coming. They were doing an Apple TV service to compete with Disney Plus, with Netflix, with Hulu, all that stuff. And they announced it was $4.99 a month. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like what you're saying. They were just waiting for Disney Plus to release theirs at the D23 conference, and they did. They figured it out, and they're like, okay, let's do $2 less.
Yep.
And we're coming out a month earlier. And that's basically what they're trying to do.
So
I don't know. Is Apple TV Plus planning? Are they trying to steal people away from those? Obviously, they would love their eyeballs. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, are they leaning into it as more of an HBO thing and that there's competition out there and like, hey, we just want some eyeballs?
Right. Content-wise, we're looking more like HBO than like Disney, right?
Yeah.
But what I think is really interesting from a business perspective, you think about it from, like a Wall Street perspective kind of a thing. Take Netflix, mm-hmm. and Netflix loses money, right? They've spent kabajillions of dollars on creating content. I think it's like $15 billion a year now on creating content, which is insane.
Whoa.
Anyway, so they're spending all this money. They're actually losing money. And they're charging people $13 for the normal package,
HD
right?
package,
You can get the SD package, you can get the 4K package, but most people are probably signed up. That's what I encourage people to sign up for, is that $13 package, right? And even with that, Netflix is losing money. And so they got to figure out a way to now turn a profit if they want to keep going the way they've been going. So Disney comes in, and the beauty of Disney Plus, from a business perspective, maybe not from a consumer perspective, but the beauty there is that it's owned by Disney. Disney is this giant corporation with 100 fingers in 100 different pies. Mm-hmm. They've got revenue coming in from 1,000 other sources
that they can now steal from Netflix.
Exactly, and so they were able to say, all right, well, hey, we're going to do a $7 streaming service. And we're going to lose money on it like Netflix does. But the thing is, we're Disney. We're making money from all these other places. Disney this year, I want to say, earned, was it 50% of the domestic box office in the U.S.?
Well, it's something Marvel and Star Wars.
No, totally, They're projected to have half of the entire, or more, I can't remember. It might even be as much as 60% of the entire U.S. box office. Anyway,
People don't see small movies anymore, though.
Well, that's a different topic for a different day.
It is. What I'm saying is, like, people aren't going to the theater. They're going for the big blockbustery stuff. So
yeah. Well, anyway, so they've got all this money coming in, and so they can say, well, Disney Plus can lose money, and we'll prop it up for a few years until everybody's signed up for it. And then you've got Apple, which says, Disney, I see you, and I raise you, being the richest corporation in the world, right? And so they have a war chest with, again, billions upon billions. What do they have? $1 trillion of cash that they're sitting on, and so Apple is able to say, I'll take your $7 and I'm going to lower the price even more. I'm going to lose even more money to attract customers, to attract viewers.
Yeah,
and that's where we're sitting at now. For $5 a month, you get HBO style content, which is just, it makes me nervous. It doesn't make me nervous for Disney. I think Disney's going to be fine.
They'll be fine. I think it comes down to which ecosystem your life is in, right?
Right.
I think, if you're in the Apple, it's, $5, that seems like nothing, right? Like, and I get these great original shows and that kind of thing. And I think they'll probably do a very similar thing that Disney Plus did is, in 3 years, they'll bump it up to $10 a month or something like that, and then people are already it's too late. They're already wrapped up in their shows, right?
Yeah,
Their
exactly.
stories. And people just, they look at $5 and like, yeah, $5, I can do that for that show or whatever. And it's not quite the a la carte that we were hoping for. You've said this a lot.
I've said this a lot.
But it's getting closer. It's like channels that have some things. I mean, it's essentially the same thing. And this may lead into our transition into our debate conversation about binging versus not binging. But, traditional TV is still being grasped onto as hard as it can be. And, I think for the most part, watching has changed a lot.
Yep.
And we'll just see kind of what sticks to the wall, I think, is kind of the point we're at now. It's really what do you watch? What's
your style?
And like at $5, you're like, oh, that's it to just watch these few awesome shows. I don't know.
So, Dodgers says Disney Plus will have Ludwig von Drake. I don't even know what that is. What's Ludwig von Drake?
Maybe a show.
I don't know. Yeah, you'll have to tell me. If it comes
$2 is $2. I want my $2.
Welcome, Evan. By the way, Evan is a frequent
regular
guest here on the live stream. What was I going to say? Oh shoot. When it comes to content, that's actually one thing about that, it's kind of a peek behind the curtain or lifting the veil on what I do. I spend so much time analyzing the content producers and creating content myself that I actually consume a shockingly small amount of content. So if Ludwig von Drake is a show or a movie or something, I have no idea what it is, honestly. Let's see. Oh, yeah. No, Uwe says perhaps Disney's business model is to be a peddler of cheap streaming content. Once hooked, to raise the prices. Yes.
Exactly.
I've been saying this for a while. We can count on that after, say, a year or two tops. They will raise their prices. Anyway. So, and I wanted to address, I said 4K package. I just saw an 8K TV commercial. Do we want to do a little 8K digression? Do you see this being a thing?
I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit when we went to CES last year.
Right.
And, we saw all these 8K TVs, and I thought you brought up a really legit point of at what point does the human eye, stop registering this stuff? To me, that's really, like my 4K TV looks awesome. 8K, I'm sure will look awesome, but how awesome does it need to be?
There's a point of diminishing returns, right?
Yeah.
And is it good? Is it better enough to justify the jump in price?
Because really, what we're talking about is a screen on your wall,
right?
At some point, they're going to be in our eyeballs, right? It's going to be 1,000K in my eyeballs, and it's so realistic. It's just how much is too much, and I guess we'll find out. And I'm sure in 20 years, if you play this back, I'll look like some old fogey. 4K
you already do.
Is all we need is 4K.
Look at all this gray in your beard.
Yeah, well, it's called having children.
Yeah,
look forward to it. But I think that's a legitimate argument. How much? Because it's just gonna be. They're just gonna keep doubling the Ks, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna go.
No, I think my thing is I need something truly innovative. So making it look better, great. I'm all for it if you can keep it cheap enough. But
exactly,
I'm waiting for true immersive VR.
I mean, that's going to have to be the next thing, right?
Holographics, so you can do 360-degree viewing of, something on a center console, something like that, Star Wars style, like the Star Wars chess, right?
Sure.
So something really, truly innovative like that
and
would
also
get me excited.
Being able to make that different enough but still have it be traditional TV, because people will still want to watch Seinfeld and Friends and stuff like that, right?
Right.
So you're not going to transform old shows. I mean, I say that, but who the hell knows?
I certainly don't.
But it's interesting.
By the way, Reliance, hello from Vancouver, one of my favorite towns. I'm a Washingtonian by birth, so hello to you. Welcome back. Caleb, I suspect Disney Plus will never go over the lowest Netflix price. I suspect you're right about
absolutely.
that. They have no reason to, just to be a pain in the butt toward Netflix. Switched to streaming a few months ago. Good for you, Mr. Corbett. Ms. Corbett? Switched to streaming a few months ago. Got YouTube TV to have live channels. Found out that I'm really not watching live anymore, except for sports.
That's what we've been saying.
Craig is always right. Hashtag it. I want it all over Twitter.
Craig is always right.
Hashtag Craig is always right. Sports is the only reason now to keep live TV, and even that it has workarounds almost all the time.
No doubt.
I signed up for Hulu Live for the next 4 months so that I could watch college football and some NFL, but mostly college football. And then I will cut it.
Yeah, no contracts, right?
Yep, I don't need it anymore.
Is doing that and no contracts cheaper than just buying the seasonal thing of football?
What seasonal thing of football? Because you can't do that with college football. That's the thing.
Oh.
Is like you can do that with MLB, with NHL. It
depends on your team, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes you can do like a conference thing. Like
I'm just wondering,
Network,
doing Hulu for it's still around $150, right? For 3 months of Hulu live with live TV.
Yeah,
it's around that where it's $150 for the whole season if you like a particular sport or particular team.
Right.
But college
football is different. So I subscribe to MLB TV so that I can watch the Mariners lose over and over and over again.
Let's get into this binge debate. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. So what I want from you guys in the comments, hit the comments over on that side of your. I don't even know what side of the screen it's on for you.
I think it's over there.
I think it's over there. Hit the comments and let us know as we go, which side of the debate you come down on. So when it comes to when it comes to TV binging, this is something that Netflix basically invented years ago when they came out with, I don't even remember what the first program was.
Their first original one, I think, was House of Cards first season.
Oh, House of Cards. Yeah, that makes some sense. Yeah, so House of Cards, Orange is the New Black.
Yep.
Kind of those like OG Netflix shows. And they just released them all at once so that you could watch them all, and thus binging was born. Right?
Well, I mean, I think it changed a lot of people's viewing habits I think, personally,
Did
forever.
it change yours?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, okay, so your argument is is the weekly shows.
Let's
State
set it up
before I start tackling you and having all of these cord cutters agree with me.
So let's set this up. What we're debating is spurred on by a new development over at Netflix. If you're familiar with the Great British Baking Show, then you are a decent and nice human being.
I love that show.
If you're not familiar with it, then you're a monster who needs to be stopped forever.
Craig says that about everyone.
That's true. No, Great British Baking Show is one of the most delightful pieces of programming ever made, and I highly encourage everybody to watch it. But with the latest season, you may be familiar, they are releasing it on a weekly schedule, even though it's Netflix. We're used to this with some of the other platforms. Hulu's been doing this already with... what's this show called? What's the big
Handmaid's Tale?
Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
I
thought you were doing an afro for a second.
Handmaid's Tale. So Handmaid's Tale's released weekly, and so they've announced that they're doing this on Disney Plus for The Mandalorian and others. Apple TV Plus is going to be doing it this way.
So Disney Plus is leaning into this too then. Okay.
Yep, and so everybody else is doing these weekly releases, and it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective because it means that you have to stay subscribed if you want to watch the whole show, right?
Versus
Netflix. If they release everything at once, they have to release new shows constantly.
Gotcha.
Instead of new episodes.
So from a business perspective, I guess I can see that a little bit.
From a business perspective, it makes sense. But what we're going to be doing is talking about what makes more sense from our perspective as consumers.
Yeah.
And you're taking which position?
The pro binge. I'm all about the binging. I don't know. It seems like it's the most practical way to watch TV because everything's recorded. I think personally it gives us less time to overanalyze everything. I think critically as well, critics will have less time to do that, and they'll look at a piece of art or a series or whatever as a whole show versus chopping it up and having that week to analyze. Oh, well, I didn't like how she stole that baby during this episode.
What?
Yeah, I'm just giving a generic example.
Who stole a baby?
Anyone.
Okay.
Rachel from Friends. But I I think people are looking at
plot twist. She stole the baby.
But what I'm saying is people have a whole week to analyze that. I get from the perspective of them wanting to keep customers, to keep us on longer, but YouTube, wants to keep us on YouTube longer. Sure. So if YouTube binge series, we're on YouTube that long, does that factor into their analytics at all? I don't know. But to me, there's less tendency to overanalyze. I think weekly shows run a greater risk of people forgetting about it and being like, that was okay. So if your show's just okay now, then people are going to not even know how it ends.
But now you're arguing, again, this is like from a business perspective almost, like you're arguing against the drop-off thing. For me, it's like, if I'm on season 3 of we don't say that show's name, it was on CBS. But if I'm on season 3 of something and it kind of drops off in quality and I forget to go watch it next week, that tells me something. Right, that tells me that the show isn't hooking me. It's okay. Exactly. Walking Dead is a great example of this, where for like 3 or 4 seasons, that was appointment television for me. I needed to watch what was going on, and then at a certain point, I was like, "Oh, okay, so that was the exact same thing as the last storyline, and that was the same thing as the storyline before." I'm not that interested anymore, and I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it consciously. It was more just like I deprioritized it. And when I realized that I had deprioritized it, that meant something. And so I like this idea of the drop-off with the weekly programming, because that's an indicator of the quality of the show.
Back to old traditional TV, that's kind of what you're talking about here, is that you have that week. But like, there's so much more content before. When we grew up, there was 5 channels and maybe cable if you're rich, right? Now to me, it's on to the next show. Like, let me finish Mindhunter, which I did last night.
Oh yeah, I really want to ask you about that.
And let's go on to the next show. I want to watch Glow now, or whatever it may be. Like, to me, if there wasn't as much content, it would make more sense to wait a week. But I think there's merit in watching something all the way through. I think a huge example of this, and you say what you will about of Game of Thrones, but the last, not only is a final season of people's favorite show a hard task to accomplish, let's just say that, but I just wonder if that came out all at once, would it have been so critically panned and criticized, because they would have kept watching things.
Yes, because it was terrible.
I mean, that's what I'm wondering. Would people think it's as terrible if they didn't have as much time to worry about those plot lines and like, oh, that didn't make sense, or where's this guy?
Right. And I would actually argue that if you don't have the buffer of time, that 1 week is a little bit of time to forget the nuances of the previous episode. And so I think it might actually make those errors more glaring if you're binging than if you're waiting a week. Anyway, I could be wrong. But my thing is, I want to go back to something you said where, it gives the binging style or the weekly style gives people time to talk about it and overanalyze it and all that stuff. I'm actually on board with that. I think that is not just okay, but it's kind of desirable in a way, because what it does, I'm coming at it from a cultural perspective. From a cultural perspective, it gives us something to talk about. Right now, the only show that everybody is watching and everybody wants to talk about, it's called Politics.
Yeah.
And it's messed up. I'm not going to get into, different sides and all that, but you know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing that we all have to talk about. And there's something to be said for the monoculture that we used to enjoy as a society that's disappearing because of the atomization of programming. Now, I think that also has benefits, but what we're missing out on is the water cooler shows. So Game of Thrones is pretty much the last gasp of the water cooler program, right? And so now that that's gone, what are we going to have to talk about as a culture? I think
Why can't you talk about the show? Because you watched the whole thing?
Well, because let's take the Netflix model. If Netflix is spending $15 billion on content and they're creating these big budget or decently budgeted shows, your Altered Carbons, your Stranger Things, your whatever the case may be, and they're releasing them constantly, every few weeks you have a new big show to binge, then it's like you have to stay on top of those shows to have any chance of chatting with anybody about it. Whereas with Game of Thrones, it's spread out over, 8 years.
But how many people are waiting to even watch the show until all of them are released? I think it depends on your target audience too, as well, because I think the older generation may be able to look at the traditional way as kind of you do, but good luck getting a millennial to watch
make TV great again.
Yes, I think we've made that joke before at some point, but make TV great again. But I don't know, you just wonder, with the amount of content, people feel like they have to catch up all the time anyways. So I don't know. That's me. I think there's something to say about engrossing yourself into a storyline, though. Like when you do the weekly things, you're like, oh, yes, and then you see it, and then you're like, cool, on to the next one. Now I can. There's some instant gratification there, right, with knowing what that cliffhanger was. Mm-hmm. And it is fun, I guess, in a way. I remember in the Lost days when Lost was a huge thing, and they have 24 episodes in a season, and million episodes, but everyone, forums, all these message boards were talking about everything. So there is a benefit in that way. I think we've evolved past that culture at this point, and
evolved.
Yeah.
The way you say that makes it sound like, and therefore we are better.
No, but I think for some people,
well, maybe, but I'm just saying from a larger cultural perspective, we're losing out on something by not having that weekly discussion for the big shows. And from a personal perspective, so now if I zoom in on just me personally, okay, so let me, small digression. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the new Tarantino movie that's probably still in theaters, right? You loved it and you wanted me to go see it. You kept bugging me about it. Hey, when are you going to go see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? And I still haven't seen it. You know why? Because it's 3 friggin' hours long.
Yeah, but that's busy. 3 hours of Mindhunter.
But no, that's exactly my point. Is
when
somebody says, yeah, but reading a book is good for you. But when somebody says,
watching TVs, I think the
hang on. Okay. Let me make my point. When somebody says, "Have you seen Mindhunter? Have you seen what's the one on Hulu that I keep trying to say? Handmaid's Tale. Have you seen whatever 8 seasons of this, of House of Cards? Somebody here in the office is bugging me about House of Cards constantly. And in that case, they're like, you've got to watch this show. Here's a show for you to watch. It's intimidating. And I can't do it. But if it's serialized the way that things were previously, then it's like, okay, well, catch me up, and then I'll start watching with you next week, and we can both enjoy this thing together. It's way too intimidating for me to have 80 plus hours of content dropped in front of me and say, consume this.
For sure, but you can consume it at your own leisure.
But that's the thing, is like I don't have enough leisure to consume all this crap.
Exactly. Which is why when you're reading a book, you're listening to a book. How is that any different than watching?
I read my books. Do you listen to your books?
No, I don't. I read them. But that's the culture, though. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm not saying necessarily everything's better because of it, but depending on who you are and how much stuff you want to consume, I think it's totally comparable.
Yeah. Well. And I do want to address a few things that have come up. Like Evan, I don't know, I've kind of lost the thread of what you guys are doing in the comments. But 5 channels. I'm not arguing that we go back to like only having a few things to possibly watch. I'm just saying that there were some benefits to that style of TV. I don't necessarily want to go back to it. I'm just saying I miss the cultural benefits that came along with it.
So that's your biggest argument, is the cultural benefits?
No, there's also the personal argument of I want to be not so intimidated by a show that says, okay, you need to watch this for 18 hours to consume it versus 45 minutes every week, right? And also, like I said earlier in the stream, I don't really consume a ton of media myself. But when I do, like I want to be able to see more of it. And if I'm trying to make it through how many seasons of House of Cards are there now, 6 or 7 seasons, if I want to watch 7 seasons of House of Cards, that's going to take me like dedicated viewing for weeks and maybe months. And that's time where I can't see anything else. I can't like concentrate on anything else. Versus if I was watching it on a weekly basis, then it's like, all right, on Sunday nights I'm watching Game of Thrones, and on Wednesday nights I'm watching this, and on Friday nights I'm watching that.
Yeah, so, I think that's just that's the old way to watch TV, right? And that's what you're saying. But I think, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of risk there. I mean. Trying to frame my argument, but I just think, I don't know, I just think that's just archaic a little bit.
I've stunned him. He's speechless, ladies and gentlemen. Speechless.
No, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think I just see the way we watch TVs as we've evolved. We've evolved past that. Oh. And that's, I don't know. I mean, I think choose your shows, so what would you say if they release the whole season at once, and so it's only 10 episodes?
What do you mean? That's what they do now.
Exactly. So if it's a show that you've watched, or you started watching at season 1, that your argument kind of goes away. You're just saying it's intimidating to something that already has 5-6 seasons.
No, not necessarily. If it's 10 episodes of an hour apiece, that's 10 hours of content. Mm-hmm. I'm intimidated by 3 hours of Tarantino. My point stands, even if it's a single season. Anyway, so I think we should probably start wrapping this up, but I'm curious what you guys think. Yeah, we'll go through the comments for a little bit, but let us know what your opinion is on binging or not binging, and I'll go check out what some people are saying here. Let's see. Binge watching equals reading one book at a time versus half a dozen. Let's see.
That's all I'm saying.
There's merit to both models. And I can see the merit in binging for sure, and I've done it. I mean,
for sure. I mean, if you don't have a choice, then they're just making you do that. But I would prefer just let's crank it out.
Yeah. Let's see.
Honestly, binging happened before Netflix. It happened with DVDs, right? And people would have to get up and take the disc out.
Oh man, can I tell you how much time I wasted my freshman year of college on 24? Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
I started watching the first episode of the 4th season as it aired, and I was like, "This is amazing!" And I went to the video store, Blockbuster. Went to Blockbuster and rented 24, the first 3 seasons of it, and just bombed them all. Evan says, "Hey, I had 6 channels when I was younger." Well, you're so lucky. Let's see. So, Kenneth L., I just got here. I think it's up to the viewer. You just do like you want these days. And this, exactly. Honestly, this is maybe the thing that undercuts my love of that model, that older model the most. And this is something that I say to a lot of people who say that that the streaming wars, you read all these asinine articles in really major publications that say that, like, the streaming is out of control, and we're just right back where we started. And with the cable companies that had too much power, and now you have to pay the same amount of money for the same amount of content that you did before. And I'm like, yeah, if you want it, but now we have choice, right? And so I think the single best argument against my point of view, enjoying the weekly releases, is that if they release everything, I could still feasibly choose to watch it on a weekly basis.
And you do. I promise you do at some point.
Sure. I mean, and that's actually one nice thing about the Great British Baking Show is, like, I took 2 viewings to watch the first episode because, I had other stuff to do.
Sure.
So having the options are good. Options are great. Yay, options.
At least we're not based on the cable company's schedule anymore. We could at least choose it at our own leisure when we have time.
That's true. Let's see. Do you remember when the president was on TV? It took all the channels. Yeah, it was a little after my time, but I do remember some of that. Binge watch the shows, water cooler movies, and that's a great call out. Corbett, I'm just going to call you Corbett, is that TV and movies are switching places culturally now.
Yeah, big time.
That's another topic for another day. Okay, let's see. I remember binging MacGyver via Blockbuster mail-in rentals. Oh my word! Oh yeah,
Well, that was
I did
even
those
after
too.
Netflix.
I did those
Blockbuster
too.
tried to do their own thing.
That was my first experience with Netflix. Was 24 when I got that first season at Blockbuster, but then I did the mail-ins for seasons 2 and 3. Yeah, I kind of miss DVDs a little bit.
I still have lots.
I know
you come over to my house and watch them.
You're old. All right. I think we're gonna call it there and call this live stream. And thank you all for participating. Obviously, I won the debate. I mean, it's clear. It's clear to anybody who watched, I'm sure. But
yes, you tell us in the comments who won the debate. I think that's a little more fair.
Anyway, so I will be back with a non-live video on Friday. What's coming up this
Streaming
week?
in 2020, comparing all the
That's
things
right.
to look at.
So yeah, I'm going to be looking at, I've already recorded this video. Now I have to re-record a section of it because Apple TV made their announcement. But kind of breaking down exactly what we can expect from streaming next year, or I should say in the next 6 months or so. And then next week we're going to be talking about Disney Plus again. I promise it's okay. We're going to be talking about Disney Plus again, and actually dipping
should
back.
Start having a giveaway here pretty soon too for Disney Plus as well.
It's not a giveaway so much as a contest.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
But keep your eyes out for what's going on with Disney Plus. You won't want to miss what we're going to be doing with Disney Plus. It's let's just say it's a dream job. And if you want to apply, you should. But more details to come. But I'm also going to be dipping next week into ISPs. I've done this a little bit. I've talked about internet service generally, but next week I'm going to be talking specifically about Xfinity, which I know is it's a hot button issue for some people. So I'm going to be talking about why it seems like a lot of people just hate Xfinity. And other people love their service with them, and why there exists this big dichotomy with Xfinity. So if you have any questions about Xfinity that you want me to address next week, you're welcome to put them here in the live stream or in the comments when this video is uploaded permanently, and I will see what I can get to. Adam, any final thoughts?
No. Thanks for having me.
Okay, all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next Monday for the live stream, and then those other videos I mentioned. I'll see you later.